The night was cold, dark, and lonely. Heavy rain fell on the small human outpost near the alien forest. Inside a tiny cabin, Evan Cole, a young human engineer, was working on his research reports. The soft hum of machines was the only sound in the quiet night. He had come to this faraway planet to study minerals and live a peaceful life, far from the noise of crowded human colonies. But peace never lasts long. As lightning flashed outside, Evan heard a strange noise. It wasn't thunder. It was soft, weak, like someone crying. He frowned and turned off his tools. The sound came again, a faint voice carried by the wind. Curiosity pushed him to check. He put on his coat, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped into the storm. The rain hit his face like cold needles. The forest beyond his cabin looked black and endless. Then his light caught something. A small figure collapsed near the trees. At first he thought it was an animal, but when he got closer, he froze. It was a girl, not a human girl. Her skin had a soft silver-blue glow. Her hair shimmered like moonlight. She was trembling, soaked in the rain, breathing hard. Evan's heart pounded. He had seen many alien species on this planet, but none looked like her. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" He shouted over the rain. No reply, and only a weak movement of her hand. Without thinking, he lifted her into his arms. She was light, almost weightless, and ice-cold. He carried her inside his cabin, kicking the door shut behind him. The warm air hit them both. He laid her gently on his couch, quickly wrapping her in a thermal blanket. The soft heater began to hum. Drops of water fell from her hair onto the floor, glowing faintly in the dim light. Evan studied her face, delicate, otherworldly, beautiful in a strange way. Her breathing steadied, but her skin still shimmered faintly. He could tell she wasn't just cold. Something else was happening inside her. When her eyes opened, he stepped back slightly. They were large and bright violet, eyes that seemed to look straight through him. She gasped softly. "You human?" she whispered. "Yes," Evan said gently. "You're safe now." "You were outside in the storm. What happened?" She blinked slowly as if remembering. They were chasing me." "Who?" he asked, confused. "Guards. My father's men." Her voice trembled. "They want me dead." Evan frowned. "Dead? Why?" But she turned her face away, refusing to answer. Tears mixed with the rain on her cheeks. She looked young, maybe his age. She seemed scared, not of him, but of something far worse. Evan stood up and brought her a mug of warm water. She took it with shaking hands, sipping slowly. He noticed faint burn marks on her wrists, like she had escaped from restraints. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Lyra," she whispered. "That's a pretty name," he said softly. "I'm Evan." For a few moments, silence filled the room. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the firelight flickered across Lyra's glowing skin. Her gaze shifted to the scanner on the wall, a human medical device. "You doctor?" she asked. Evan smiled faintly. "Engineer, not doctor. But I know first aid. You'll be fine." She nodded weakly, but her expression changed, like she wanted to say something important. She touched her chest, breathing fast. "No, not fine," she whispered. "It's starting," Evan frowned. "What's starting?" Lyra gripped the blanket tighter. Her skin began to glow brighter. The temperature in the cabin rose. The air felt heavy, thick with strange energy. The lights flickered. Evan rushed to check the heater, thinking it was malfunctioning. But the temperature kept rising. "Lyra, are you sick?" he asked. She shook her head violently. "Not sick. Season." "What do you mean, season?" Her eyes met his. There was fear and shame. "Mating season," she said softly. Evan froze. His mouth went dry. He had read about alien species with biological cycles, but never seen one. Lyra's breathing grew faster. The air smelled faintly of flowers and static electricity. "Stay away," she warned. "It's dangerous for you." Evan took a step back, unsure what to do. Her body emitted faint pulses of light. His scanner beeped wildly. Hormones, temperature, pheromone levels all rising beyond known limits. "I can't control it," she whispered, tears forming again. "Please don't call anyone." "They'll find me. They'll take me back." Evan felt torn. Every instinct said to call the station for help, but one look at her terrified eyes stopped him. She was truly scared, and somehow he felt she was telling the truth. He grabbed a cooling patch and gently pressed it to her forehead. "Okay," he said quietly. "I won't call anyone, just breathe slowly." Lyra looked at him surprised. "You trust me?" He hesitated. "I don't know, but I won't let you die." Outside, thunder rolled again. Inside, the lights dimmed as the power grid flickered. Lyra curled up, clutching the blanket. Her voice was weak but sincere. "You should leave. When it begins fully, I can't stop myself." Evan shook his head. "I won't leave you." She stared at him, confused and touched. No one had ever spoken to her that way, not even her own people. Slowly, her trembling eased. Her glowing skin dimmed a little. The cabin grew quiet again. Evan sat nearby, watching her sleep. The storm outside roared like a beast, but inside the small cabin, something even stronger was brewing. A bond neither of them understood yet. He looked at her one last time before turning off the light.
"Who are you really, Lyra?"
He whispered to himself. The rain answered, tapping endlessly on the roof, hiding the secrets of the night. Morning came, but the storm hadn't stopped. The sky was still dark, clouds swirling like angry spirits above the forest. Rainwater streamed down the cabin's windows, tapping softly. Evan hadn't slept all night. He sat at the table, staring at the strange readings on his datapad, Lyra's vitals. Her body temperature kept changing every few minutes. Her energy output was far beyond human understanding. He looked at her sleeping on the couch. Her breathing was slow, her silver skin faintly glowing under the blanket. For a moment she looked peaceful, almost human. But he knew that peace was fragile. Suddenly the scanner beeped again. Her temperature spiked. The air shimmered with faint waves of heat. Evan rushed to her side. "Lyra," he said softly, "wake up. You're overheating again." Her eyes opened, but they looked different now, glowing brighter, almost wild. She sat up suddenly, clutching her chest. "It's stronger this time," she whispered. "I can't." "Stop it," Evan stepped back slightly. "Tell me what's happening to you. I need to know how to help." Lyra's breathing grew heavy. "My kind, we release energy during the mating cycle. It attracts males of our species, but with humans, it can be dangerous. It can change you. Change me?" Evan frowned. "What do you mean?" Before he could finish, the cabin lights flickered again. His instruments went crazy, showing electromagnetic spikes. The air around Lyra started to bend, and as if gravity itself shifted slightly. She was losing control. Her hands glowed bright white. "Evan, please," she gasped. "Stay back." But Evan didn't move. He grabbed a cooling injector and pressed it against her neck. The device hissed, sending a wave of cold through her body. She gasped, trembling, then fell back against the couch. Her glow dimmed again. Silence filled the cabin. Evan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He sat on the floor, exhausted. "You weren't kidding," he muttered. "That energy could kill someone." Lyra looked at him weakly. "You shouldn't help me. My people, they'll come. They can sense my energy. They'll find this place soon." Evan frowned. "Then we'll leave before they get here." Lyra shook her head. "You don't understand. My family and they are rulers. My father controls half the planet. If he knows a human sheltered me during my cycle, he'll destroy you." Evan laughed softly, tired. "Guess I've made worse choices before." She blinked at him, confused. "Why help me?" "You gain nothing." He looked at her seriously. "Because you were cold, scared, and alone? That's enough reason." For a moment, Lyra said nothing. Her glowing eyes softened. No one had ever spoken to her with such kindness. Among her people, emotions were weakness. But this human, he didn't care about power or status. He cared about her. Suddenly, the sound of a ping came from outside in the warning system. Evan rushed to the console. "Motion sensors. Something's moving out there." Lyra's eyes widened. "It's them. My father's guards." Evan cursed quietly. "How many?" "3, maybe 4. They can track energy." Evan looked around the small cabin, one room, no real defense. He pulled out his old plasma rifle from under the workbench. The weapon hummed as it powered up. Lyra's eyes widened. "You'll fight them?" "I'm not good at running," he said simply. "And I don't leave people to die." Lyra stood shakily, gripping the wall. "You'll die for nothing, human." "They are trained killers," Evan smirked. "So am I sometimes." The door control blinked red and motioned close. He crouched near the window, peering through the rain. Shadows moved among the trees. Then a voice echoed through the storm. Deep, mechanical, alien. "Return the royal daughter." The human will not be harmed, Lyra froze. That's their commander, Evan whispered. Royal daughter? She looked down, ashamed. I'm not just anyone, Evan. I'm the first daughter of the Varine Emperor. I ran away from a forced union. My mating cycle made me a target. Evan's eyes widened. So you're an alien princess? She looked at him sadly. A cursed one. Before he could respond, the door burst open. Energy blasts hit the walls, throwing sparks everywhere. Evan fired back blindly, shouting, "Stay down!" Lyra covered her head, screaming as the bright blue light filled the cabin. Evan dove behind the table, firing again. 2 guards fell, but more rushed in. They were tall, armored, and fast. One struck him with a pulse baton, sending pain through his arm. He fell, dazed, until a wave of white light exploded across the room. Lyra stood in the center, eyes blazing like twin suns. Her body radiated raw energy, wind swirling around her. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice echoing with power. The guards screamed as the energy threw them backward out the door. Thunder roared at the same time, lightning striking the forest outside. Evan shielded his face. When the light faded, Lyra was on her knees, shaking, barely conscious. He rushed to her. "Lyra, you'll burn yourself out!" She looked up weakly, her glow fading. "You saved me. Now I save you." And then she collapsed in his arms. Evan held her close, feeling her faint heartbeat. The storm outside slowly began to quiet, but inside his chest, the real storm had only begun, a mix of fear, awe, and something deeper he didn't dare name. He whispered softly, "What have I gotten myself into?" The answer came not in words, but in the faint hum of alien ships circling above the clouds. The hunt wasn't over yet. The storm was finally gone, but the silence it left behind was heavier than thunder. Smoke rose from the cabin walls where the alien guards' weapons had scorched the metal. The air smelled of ozone and burnt wood. Evan sat on the floor beside Lyra, who was still unconscious. Her glowing skin had dimmed to a faint silver light. He gently touched her wrist. Her pulse was weak but steady. He looked around the wrecked room. Tools were scattered everywhere. Half the control panel was fried. His rifle lay twisted on the ground. He let out a tired sigh. "Guess we won that round," he muttered, but not for long. Outside, the forest was eerily quiet. He could still see faint blue trails of energy, signs of the guards' retreat. They'd be back, and with more of them. He needed answers before that happened. He glanced at Lyra again. Who was she really? Her words echoed in his mind. First daughter of the Varine Emperor. That meant royalty. That meant power. That meant danger. As dawn's pale light entered the cabin, Lyra finally stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking in confusion. Her first words were soft, trembling. "You stayed?" Evan smiled faintly. "I'm stubborn like that." She tried to sit up, but winced in pain. He helped her gently. "You burned through half the power in the cabin last night," he said. "You also took out 4 armed soldiers. That's impressive." Lyra looked down at her glowing hands, guilt in her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt them." "I know," Evan said. "But you need to tell me the truth now. Who exactly is after you, and why?" For a long moment she didn't speak. The only sound was the soft hum of the heater. Then she whispered, "My father, Emperor Varine. He rules the northern systems. My bloodline carries the mating gene that keeps his dynasty pure. When my cycle began, he ordered me to bond with a chosen partner, a warrior from another world. I refused." Evan frowned. "So they hunted you because you didn't want to marry?" Lyra nodded slowly. "In my culture, refusing the Emperor's command is treason. I ran, they called me defective," her voice cracked. "But I am not broken, Evan. I just wanted to choose my own fate." Evan felt something twist in his chest. "You just wanted freedom." She looked at him, her violet eyes shining faintly. "Yes, and for that they will kill anyone who shelters me." He rubbed his forehead. "Then we need to get off this planet." Lyra shook her head. "We can't. My father's patrols surround this region. They control every exit gate." "Then we find another way," Evan said firmly. Lyra looked at him with disbelief. "Why risk your life for me? You don't even know me," he chuckled softly. "Maybe I don't. But I know what it's like to be trapped by someone else's choices." For the first time, she smiled. A small, fragile smile that made her seem almost human. "You're strange, human. I get that a lot," he said. Just then the console beeped weakly. The communication system was trying to reconnect. Static filled the room, followed by a faint robotic voice. Unidentified energy signature detected in Sector 9A. Emperor's fleet approaching. Ground sweep in 12 hours. Evan's face hardened. They're scanning the area already. Lyra's expression turned pale. We have to hide. He grabbed his gear and started packing. There's an old mining tunnel 2 kilometers east. It's abandoned, but it connects to the mountain ridge. We can hide there until the storm clears and the scans move on. Lyra stood shakily, still weak but determined. Lead the way. They stepped out into the gray dawn. The forest was wet and misty, filled with strange bird-like creatures singing. The air smelled fresh after the rain, but every sound made Lyra flinch. As they walked, Evan noticed something glowing faintly beneath her collarbone, a tiny crystal embedded in her skin. "What's that?" he asked. She looked startled. "It's my birth crystal. Every royal heir has one. It connects us to the Emperor's network. It tracks our life signs." Evan stopped walking. "So they can find you through that?" Lyra nodded sadly. "Yes, but if I remove it, I die." Evan stared at her in shock. "So you're carrying a beacon that's also keeping you alive?" "Yes," she whispered. "It's our family's curse." He thought for a moment, then said, "What if we block the signal instead of removing it?" Lyra tilted her head. "Can you do that?" He smiled slightly. "I'm an engineer, remember? Let's find that tunnel and I'll try." They reached the old mine just as dark clouds began forming again. The entrance was half covered in vines and mud. Evan set up a small generator and started scanning the crystal in Lyra's chest with his handheld device. Her breathing was shaky as he worked. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "A little," she said softly. "But I trust you." Those words hit him harder than any explosion. He glanced at her, pale skin glowing softly in the dark cave, eyes full of quiet strength. Minutes later, his device beeped. "Got it," he said. "I can cloak the signal for about 6 hours at a time, but we'll need to keep moving." Lyra smiled faintly. 6 hours of freedom. That's more than I ever had." Evan looked at her, then at the storm building outside. "Then let's make it count." Far above the clouds, unseen ships glided silently, scanning the planet's surface. In one of them, a towering alien in royal armor stared at a flickering hologram of Lyra's fading signal. "Find her," Emperor Varine said coldly, "and bring me the human alive." The tunnel air was cold and damp. Every drop of water that fell echoed through the darkness like a ticking clock. Evan adjusted his headlamp, glancing back at Lyra, who walked slowly behind him, her faint glow lighting the walls with silver light. They had been walking for an hour since dawn. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became, only the sound of their breathing and the crunch of gravel beneath their boots. Evan's small scanner blinked. "The signal's cloaked for now," he whispered. "But once the energy wears off, they'll find us again." Lyra nodded, her voice soft. "My father won't stop. His soldiers track heat, sound, even heartbeat rhythm." Evan looked over his shoulder. "Then we'll give them something to chase, a false trail." He knelt down, opening a small case from his backpack. Inside were glowing orbs, signal beacons he'd salvaged from old mining drones. He tossed 2 of them down a side tunnel and they activated, pulsing faint blue light. Lyra tilted her head, curious. "You humans use tricks instead of force," Evan smirked. "Force breaks things. Tricks keep you alive." They continued forward until the tunnel opened into a massive underground cavern. Light from bioluminescent crystals covered the ceiling like alien stars. The place was silent but beautiful. Glowing streams ran between the rocks, giving off a soft hum. Lyra's eyes widened in awe. "This place, it's sacred. My people used to come here before the wars. They said the crystals could hear thoughts." Evan chuckled. "Let's hope they don't snitch on us," but Lyra wasn't smiling. Her gaze was distant, filled with memory. "Once my world was peaceful. Before my father turned it into an empire. Before love became a transaction." Evan watched her quietly. "And you ran from that?" "Yes," she said softly. "I wanted to feel free, not owned." He understood that more than she knew. He looked up at the glowing ceiling and whispered, "Then maybe freedom's down here, at least for now." But peace never lasts long. Suddenly his scanner beeped rapidly. Red warning lights flashed on the screen. "They found the decoy beacons too quickly," Evan muttered. "That means they're close." A low rumble came from behind them, a vibration deep in the ground. The air filled with a strange metallic sound like wings cutting through air. Lyra's voice trembled. Hunter drones, Evan's jaw tightened. Move! They ran deeper into the cavern. Behind them, small hovering machines burst through the tunnel entrance. Spherical drones with sharp blue eyes scanning the dark. They fired beams of energy that sliced through stone like butter. Evan ducked behind a rock, pulling Lyra down with him. The drones flew overhead, scanning. The air buzzed with electricity. One beam passed inches from Lyra's hair, scorching the rock beside her. Evan pulled a grenade-shaped device from his belt. Close your eyes, he threw it into the air. It exploded in a burst of white static, sending out an electromagnetic pulse. The drones froze midair, then crashed to the ground, lifeless. Silence returned except for the soft hum of the crystals. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. You destroyed them. Disabled, Evan corrected. They'll send more. She looked around nervously. My father's hunters never stop. Once they have a scent, they chase until one side dies. Evan nodded grimly. Then we make sure it's not us. They continued forward until they reached an opening that led out of the cavern, a narrow cliffside above a roaring waterfall. Mist filled the air, sparkling in the sunlight. Lyra stepped forward, staring at the endless forest below. We can't hide forever, she whispered. Even if we survive, I can't stay here. My cycle is changing me. Each day I feel more human. Evan looked at her, puzzled. Human? She turned to him slowly. Your presence, it's affecting me. My body adapts. My instincts confuse affection with survival. He swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. Then we'll figure it out together. But first we survive. Before Lyra could answer, a shadow moved above them, large and fast. A ship. Evan grabbed her arm. They found us. A beam of blue light shot down from the sky, striking the ground near them. The shockwave knocked them off balance. They fell backward, tumbling down a slope of mud and stone until they hit the forest floor below. Evan groaned, coughing as dirt filled his mouth. He looked up. The ship hovered high above, scanning the area. He pulled Lyra to her feet. We run east. There's a canyon nearby. The ship's scanners can't see inside. They sprinted through the forest, branches whipping their faces. Alien birds scattered in panic as energy blasts tore through the trees behind them. The ground shook with every impact. Lyra stumbled, grabbing his hand for balance. I can't keep up, she gasped. Evan pulled her closer. Then hold on. He lifted her onto his back and kept running. She was light, but her body was burning hot. That strange energy pulsing again. The ship's lights scanned the forest like searching eyes. Evan ducked behind fallen logs, moving quickly but silently. The air was thick with smoke and static. Finally, they reached the canyon, a narrow gap hidden between cliffs. They slipped inside just as another beam struck the ground behind them, exploding in fire and dirt. Inside the canyon, darkness swallowed them again. Only Lyra's soft glow remained. Evan set her down gently, her breathing was heavy. You saved me again, she said weakly. He smiled faintly. You're making a habit of needing saving. She looked up at him, eyes shimmering in the dark. And you're making a habit of not giving up. He laughed quietly, shaking his head. Guess we both have bad habits. Above them, the ship circled once more before flying off toward the horizon. The immediate danger was gone, but for how long, neither knew. Evan leaned against the stone wall, exhausted. Lyra rested beside him, her glow fading softly. For a moment, there was peace. Only the distant sound of water and the heartbeat of two fugitives hiding from an empire. But in the sky above, far away, the Emperor's ship turned toward their direction again, and his voice echoed through the void. Begin full planetary sweep. No human leaves this world alive. The canyon stretched endlessly beneath the mountain's shadow. Thin rays of light pierced through cracks above, painting lines of gold on the dark stone walls. The air smelled of dust and ancient minerals. Evan walked carefully ahead, scanning the walls with his handheld device. Lyra followed behind him, her faint silver glow lighting the path. Every few steps her breathing hitched. She was still weak from the chase. They had been hiding for hours. The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of dripping water. Finally, Evan stopped and looked back at her. We can't keep running forever, he said softly. Sooner or later, they'll find this canyon too. Lyra nodded. I know, but where can we go? My father's ships control the skies. My kind control the gates. There's nowhere to hide. Evan stared at the scanner in his hand. The readings were strange. A pulse deep below the surface, rhythmic and strong. It wasn't natural, he frowned. Wait, there's something down there. A power source, old but active. Lyra tilted her head. Old power? Very old, Evan said. Could be an ancient system, maybe a pre-Empire structure. If we can reach it, we might find energy, or shelter. Lyra hesitated, glancing around. This canyon used to belong to the first ones, the original race before my father's rule. They vanished long ago. Evan looked at her curiously. Vanished or erased? She didn't answer, just looked away. They followed the signal deeper into the canyon until the path opened into a vast underground chamber. The air shimmered faintly with static energy. Gigantic stone pillars rose from the ground, carved with alien runes that glowed softly as Lyra approached. Evan's eyes widened. These symbols, they react to you. Lyra reached out and touched one of the glowing carvings. The stone rippled like water beneath her palm. The ground trembled. A circle of light appeared in the center of the floor. A hidden door slowly opening. Evan stepped closer, awe in his eyes. You just unlocked something. Lyra looked frightened. No. It recognized me. The door opened fully, revealing a staircase leading downward. Warm light spilled out like from a sun trapped underground. Without speaking, they descended together. At the bottom, they entered a massive hall, filled with floating crystals, old machines, and strange metal statues. In the center stood a raised platform with a glowing orb suspended above it. Evan whistled softly. This looks ancient, way older than the Empire. Lyra stepped closer. The orb pulsed in response, glowing brighter with each step she took. Then a voice filled the hall, calm, echoing, and female. Bloodline detected. Princess Lyra of the House of Vereen. Welcome home. Lyra froze. Home? What is this place? The voice continued. This facility is Vault Seraphis, built by the first ones. You are the last heir linked to its core. Evan's heart raced. You mean this place was made for her? The orb pulsed again. She was born from a line not of the Emperor's making. The Vereen blood was mixed. Half of the first ones, half of the conquerors. That is her secret. And her curse. Lyra's eyes widened. Half of the first ones? That's impossible, the voice replied. It is truth. Your power, your mating energy, your glow, is not from your father. It is from the first ones. You are the bridge between two races. Evan stepped back in shock. That's why your energy readings were so strange. You're not just royal, Lyra. You're something far older. Lyra's voice trembled. My father lied to me. He said I was born from pure blood, that my existence was divine. The orb dimmed slightly. He lied to control you. Your power could destroy him or save billions. Evan looked at her. Save billions? How? The orb projected an image into the air. A vast map of the galaxy with red lines showing the Emperor's territories. In the center, one pulsing white star remained untouched. The core beacon, the voice said. It controls the flow of Empire ships and weapons. Only the true heir with first one blood can command it. If she connects to it, she can free every enslaved world. Lyra took a step back, shaking her head. I can't fight him. He's my father. Evan placed a hand on her shoulder. Maybe, but you've seen what he does to those who don't obey. You can't save him, but you can save others. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't want any of this. I only wanted freedom. Evan smiled faintly. Then maybe freedom is what the galaxy needs too. The orb glowed brighter. Warning, hostile units approaching. Imperial signal detected, Evan cursed. They tracked us already. Lyra wiped her tears, her expression hardening. Then we fight. The floor panels shifted, revealing ancient weapons powered by light. Evan picked up one. It hummed like thunder. These things still work? Lyra nodded. They were made by gods. The sound of boots echoed through the tunnel above. Blue light filled the entrance and the Emperor's guards. Evan took a deep breath. Lyra, are you ready? She stood tall, eyes glowing brighter than ever. I was born ready. I just didn't know what for. As the first soldiers descended the stairs, the orb's voice whispered again, almost like a blessing. The Empire began with blood. Let it end with light. And then, the chamber erupted in chaos, blinding energy, screaming soldiers, and the birth of a rebellion that had waited 1,000 years for her return. The chamber shook as blue fire erupted through the entrance. Metal soldiers in black armor stormed in, their plasma rifles humming with lethal light. Evan grabbed one of the glowing weapons left by the ancient machines. It felt alive, humming under his grip like a heartbeat. Lyra stood beside him, her silver skin gleaming brighter than ever, her violet eyes burning with fury. The first guard shouted an order. "Seize the hybrid. Kill the human!" Evan raised the weapon and fired. A beam of white energy burst forth, slicing through the air. The blast struck a guard, sending him flying into the wall. The explosion echoed through the vast hall. Lyra's glow intensified until the air around her began to ripple. The ancient runes across the pillars lit up, reacting to her presence. Her hair flowed as if caught in invisible wind, strands glowing with pale fire. "Stay behind me," she said softly. Evan smirked. "You sure you need me?" Lyra didn't answer. Her eyes closed for a moment, and when she opened them again, they were radiant white. She lifted both hands. Light poured out from her palms, curving like ribbons across the chamber. The attacking soldiers screamed as the light touched them. Their armor melted, their weapons dissolved into dust. The orb in the ceiling pulsed faster. Energy levels rising. Ancestral core awakening. Evan shielded his eyes from the brightness. "Lyra, you're overloading yourself!" But she didn't stop. Her voice echoed through the hall, calm but powerful. No more running. She floated slightly above the ground, the glow surrounding her forming wings of light. The air grew warm and still. Even the soldiers who remained hesitated. Their scanners couldn't comprehend what they were seeing. One of them shouted, "She's becoming one of them." Lyra looked at them with sadness. "Not one of them," she said softly. "Something new." She raised her arms again, and a wave of pure light exploded outward, not destructive but cleansing. The soldiers froze. Then their armor turned transparent before dissolving into harmless dust. The energy washed over the walls, and the ancient carvings began to move, shifting like living veins. Evan stood speechless. "Lyra." Her feet touched the ground again. The glow dimmed slightly, leaving only a soft shimmer around her body. She looked drained but alive. The orb spoke once more. "The Lightborn has awakened. The blood of two worlds united. The age of domination ends today." Lyra turned to Evan. "Lightborn, what does it mean?" Evan smiled weakly. "It means you just scared the galaxy." She gave a tired laugh, but before she could respond, a deep rumble filled the cavern. From above, the Emperor's holographic image appeared. Tall, cold, eyes burning with rage. "So it is true," he said, his voice booming. "My own blood betrays me. You carry the curse of the first ones. You are not my daughter. You are their weapon." Lyra stared at him, trembling but unafraid. "You made me a weapon long before I knew what I was. You took lives in the name of power. I will take that power back." The Emperor laughed, low and cruel. "You think light can destroy darkness? Light feeds the shadow, my child, and I am eternal." His hologram faded, replaced by the thunder of ships above. The ceiling cracked as fire rained from orbit. Evan ran to the console. "They're bombing the entire canyon." Lyra looked up, her glow flaring again. "Then we stop them here." She pressed her palm against the ancient orb. Instantly, the chamber filled with symbols of light. The orb expanded, wrapping around her like armor. Her voice became two-toned, one human, one ancient. "Vault Seraphis, awaken. Protect the living." The ground split open, revealing massive pillars rising from beneath, ancient defense towers hidden for centuries. They fired beams of pure white light into the sky, striking the descending ships. The explosions lit the heavens like suns being born. Evan stumbled back, shielding his eyes. "You're controlling them?" Lyra's voice echoed like thunder. "No!" "They're answering me." Outside, the sky turned silver. One by one, the Emperor's ships fell in flames. The planet trembled, but the cavern stood firm, powered by something older than time. When the last ship fell silent, Lyra collapsed. Evan caught her before she hit the ground. Her glow was fading, her skin cold. "Hey, stay with me," he said, shaking her gently. Her lips moved weakly. "Did we win?" Evan looked up at the glowing ceiling, where the light slowly dimmed into calm starlight. "I think so. For now." Lyra smiled faintly. "For now is enough." He held her close, listening to her slow heartbeat. Outside, the rain began to fall again, gentle, quiet, washing away the ashes of battle. In the distance, faint lights shimmered where the Empire's control towers once stood. Across the planet, people, Human and alien alike looked to the sky, seeing freedom for the first time. Evan whispered, "You're not just the Emperor's daughter anymore. You're hope itself." Lyra opened her eyes one last time, their glow soft but alive. "Then let's make it last." Far above them, deep in the void, the Emperor's flagship drifted through space. His face darkened as he stared at the burning world below. "Lightborn or not," he growled, "she is still my creation, and I will reclaim her." His ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only silence, and the birth of a new legend whispered across the stars. The human and the Lightborn, the spark that defied an empire. Days passed since the battle in the canyon. The skies were clear again, the ground still smoking from the wreckage of fallen ships. The Empire's hold on the planet had finally broken, but Evan and Lyra knew peace was only temporary. They sat together at the edge of the mountain ridge, watching the sunrise paint the horizon in gold. Lyra's silver skin shimmered softly under the light. She was quiet, lost in thought. Evan looked at her, concern in his eyes. "You haven't slept in 2 days," he said gently. Lyra smiled faintly. "Lightborns don't sleep much," he chuckled. "You're still half human, remember?" Her smile faded. "Maybe that's the part that feels tired and afraid." Evan leaned closer. "What's wrong?" She turned her gaze to the sky. "He's coming. I can feel him, my father." "The Emperor," Evan frowned. "I thought his fleet was destroyed." Lyra shook her head slowly. "That wasn't his true fleet. He never fights with what can be replaced. He fights with what he cannot lose." Before Evan could reply, the air changed. The sky darkened, clouds swirling into a spiral. Lightning arced across the heavens in strange colors: purple, gold, black. A massive shadow appeared in orbit, a ship larger than a city, covered in spikes of burning light. The Emperor's flagship. Evan stood, his pulse racing. "He's here." The voice came through the air like thunder. "Lyra, my daughter, your rebellion ends today." The ground shook. A beam of red energy descended from the ship, carving a glowing scar into the earth. From it emerged the Emperor, tall, armored in living metal that pulsed like molten lava. His eyes burned like twin suns. Lyra stepped forward, calm but trembling inside. "Father?" He spread his arms. "Child, what have you done? You've destroyed your own world, betrayed your blood, and sided with a human. Have you forgotten who you are?" She raised her chin. "No, I've finally remembered." The Emperor's expression darkened. "You are the Empire's future, not its destroyer." Lyra's glow brightened. Then the Empire never deserved to survive. The air between them cracked with energy. Evan took a cautious step back. He knew this was something beyond human understanding. A battle not of soldiers, but of gods. The Emperor lifted his hand. Energy coiled around his arm like a serpent of light. "If you won't return willingly, I'll burn the human out of you." He unleashed the blast. Lyra raised her hands instinctively, and the world exploded in light. The force knocked Evan to the ground. The mountain trembled. When he looked up, 2 beings of pure energy stood locked in combat, one blazing gold, one shining white. Their powers collided, turning the sky into a battlefield of fire and storm. Evan crawled behind a rock, shielding his eyes from the blinding flashes. "Lyra!" he shouted, but his voice was lost in the chaos. Lyra's voice echoed through the air, and strong, defiant. "You can't destroy me. I am what you made me, but I chose what you never could." The Emperor roared, his power tearing the clouds apart. "And what's that?" Lyra's glow intensified until her form became almost transparent. "Mercy!" She thrust her hands forward, sending a wave of pure light through him. The Emperor staggered, roaring in pain. His armor cracked, revealing the burning core beneath, not a heart but a living star. Evan watched, his heart pounding. "She's burning herself out." He ran forward, through the swirling dust and energy, ignoring the heat that scorched his clothes. He reached Lyra's side just as she faltered. Her glow flickered like a dying flame. "Don't," he shouted. "You'll kill yourself!" She looked at him, tears glowing in her eyes. "If I stop now, he'll never stop." The Emperor straightened, fury and pain twisting his face. "You think light will destroy darkness? Light creates it." He gathered one final surge of power, a dark sun forming in his hand. "If I cannot rule this world, I will erase it." Lyra gasped, falling to her knees. He's going to collapse the planet's core. Evan looked around desperately. Then his eyes fell on the ancient orb embedded in the earth nearby, still faintly pulsing from the battle. The core of Vault Seraphis. He ran to it, pressing his hands against its surface. Come on, you worked for her before. Work for me now. The orb responded to his touch, faintly glowing. Symbols appeared, unreadable, alien. But one phrase in human language shimmered among them. The light needs a vessel. Evan looked back at Lyra. You can't hold it alone. She shook her head weakly. Humans can't survive that energy. Evan smiled sadly. I never said I'd survive. Before she could stop him, he placed his hand over hers on the orb. Light surged through both of them, merging their energies into one. Lyra screamed, not in pain, but in realization. Evan, he smiled. Worth it. Their combined light burst forth, forming a massive shield that expanded outward. The Emperor's dark sun collided with it, and for a heartbeat the world held its breath. Then the explosion. A ring of light spread across the sky, bright enough to be seen from orbit. The Emperor's ship shattered like glass. The ground shook, then grew still. When the light faded, Evan was gone. Only the orb remained, now glowing softly in Lyra's trembling hands. She looked up at the silent sky, tears falling like diamonds. You said you didn't believe in destiny, she whispered. But maybe. You were mine. The sun rose again, gentle and warm. Across the world, people looked up to see the light-born symbol glowing faintly in the sky. A sign of hope, of freedom. And in the stars beyond, whispers began spreading from world to world. The Emperor is dead. The Lightborn lives, and beside her light walks the memory of a human who defied a god. Lyra stood alone on the mountain ridge, holding the orb close to her heart. Its light flickered softly, and for a brief moment she heard a voice inside it. Told you I'd never leave you. She smiled through her tears. Welcome home, Evan. Above them, the heavens opened and the stars shimmered brighter than ever before, not in fear but in celebration. The Empire was gone, the Lightborn had risen, and the galaxy would never forget the day a human and an alien rewrote the fate of worlds together.